Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are with another exciting episode with the Scouser and the Scot and the other Scot.
Today we have someone who
Yeah. Hold on here. Do you know what? This is Pete K. Malley Takeover Show today. I'm in charge today, guys. So let's call it the Scouser and the Scot, and let's actually interview the Scouser and the Scot. Let's put the hat on the other head. That's not a phrase, is it? It doesn't matter. Are we happy with that?
Well, it sounds like it's too late to change it now, Pete. So let's
exactly. So let's go for it. You've got no choice. Exactly. So anyway, Scouser and Scot, welcome to my show. How are you guys? All good?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, you?
I'm always good. So let's get off the questions. What's that?
Always about the inspiration, my man. Always about the inspiration.
Always about the inspiration. Yeah, that's right. And I just thought, I haven't got any live streams. I haven't got any gigs or anything to plug. So I thought I'd just jump on yours and invade yours. I hope you don't mind at all.
We don't mind you do anything, Pete. You can join us anytime. You know that, mate.
I'm looking forward to the audio once lockdown is over.
Go easy on me on the questions.
I'll pick on John. John, I'll start with you. What is your earliest recollection of music? What is your earliest inspirations? Where did it all start?
Well, basically, I was born in '61, so.
No.
Yeah, mate.
1861.
1861, yeah. And so the first thing I can remember is listening to my dad on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, playing country. In those days, what was country and western music. So he would play. I'd be listening to Jim Reeves and Hank Williams, Hank Snow, and all that. But then, obviously, as I got a bit older, you started getting Radio 1, Junior Choice on a Saturday morning, which was eclectic. It was a bit mad. But then we started sort of discovering Top of the Pops when we finally got my dad to agree to let us watch it. And then it was the usual. At my age, it was glam. It was seeing Sweet. It was seeing Slade, early Thin Lizzy. It was fantastic. But I was also lucky because I had a cousin, that was about 5 or 6 years older than me. So when I was 12, he was 18. So when I went to stay at his house, which was kind of regularly, he was listening to his Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Uriah Heep, Yes, Judy, all that sort of stuff. And the first thing I ever sat back and went, oh wow, what is that? Was actually The Who, live from Leeds. Quickly followed by Black Sabbath, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and it just blew my mind. So after that, I was probably the only kid in my school, that when other people were into Bayside Rollers and that, I was like right in the bus shelter, The Who, and all that, and these guys didn't know. So I was just lucky that way. And then when I got to sort of 15, 16, it was the old John Peel show and who you could discover there. So you're talking 76, 77 when punk came in. And the first time I heard that Anarchy in the UK, and that was me going. I became 100% punk, but I also got into Rainbow. So I've always had this kind of punk, hard rock, and then of course it went into new wave of British heavy metal with Maiden and all that. But funny enough, I've always maintained my love of country. So I've got a wide taste in music, and The Script is one of my favourite bands. I don't think I've seen a better live band, to be honest, than The Script. So I love everything except jazz, mate. So that was my earliest recollections.
I love jazz. Can I just say, that makes sense. I just want to say, one, your Anarchy in the UK version was special. And there's not 1 minute, and I'm sure Ian agrees, there's no way you're not a Bay City Rollers fan. No way are you not a Bay City Rollers fan.
Used to actually, when I first started.
On below. I know you have.
When I first, I had the gear. When I first started at high school, our academy, it was Cumnock Academy, and they used to have a dance every Friday night at Cumnock. And Bay City Rollers was one of the bands that used to come around like every 6 weeks or something. And when they had their first hit, all these guys that hated them when they were that band, well, I'll tell you what, when they did the first hit, they were queuing for about 3 miles to get in. They were all super fans then. Luckily, I was just a wee bit too young still for that. But yeah, they were good.
I'll put money on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I preferred Midge Ure's first band, Slick. They were much better.
I can just imagine John going, I don't like this, I prefer the Anarchy in the UK. Do you know the one that goes, do, 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 do? But you, Ian, what was there? What brought you to this? What were your early inspirations? What brought you here?
My earliest one was got to be Adam Ant.
Oh yeah, I'm the same because we were about the same age-ish, a bit younger than me, I think. But yeah,
Yeah, Prince Charming was getting hammered on the radio, and I only went to see him. Was it? Must have been only about 2 years ago in Liverpool, which was the second time I've seen him. Absolutely blew me out again. It was just quality. The massive drums, everything was just absolutely ace. Then I went kind of quiet on the music side of it when I was a kid. I bunked off music, hated music. He wanted to teach me history of music. I wanted to play a guitar. So I did the sensible thing. I bunked off with the whole class, took them all around to ours, played Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, only for my mum to come in and go, "What the hell is going on here?" Getting my ass dragged back up to school and explaining. Yeah, so that was shameful after that. So I started to take notice, and I got an album called Porno Graffiti by Extreme, blown away yet again by Nuno on his shred skills. Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee, it was just mind blowing, and I was like, that's interesting. Then I was talking to one of my mates, and he basically said to us, he goes, come to Donington '94 with us," and I was like, cool. And I seen Extreme on the bill.
Extreme Purple to
Aerosmith,
Thunderstar and Aerosmith,
yeah,
Whitesnake Poison,
Skin was on there as well.
Skin, Television, Wild Hearts on another stage.
Wild Hearts.
I didn't see them, mate. I must have missed you. I had long hair, but we might have.
Well,
yeah.
We got there for the first act on the main stage, and it was a certain little meathead, big country singer called Zach Wilde, who opened up for Pride and
Glory.
Holy shit, my world changed. I just went, that's it. I'm doing that. I want to learn that. So I just got obsessed with Zach Wilde, Pride and Glory, country chicken picking on the guitar, and loads of cranking it up and stuff like that. And then obviously it was Ozzy all the way then. So, and Aerosmith. And that's the majority of it, like, you know what I mean?
I like the fact you could either be a guitarist or a Super Mario Kart champion. That was your choice in life.
That was it, mate. And I was pretty good at Super Mario.
So you chose the guitar.
You know what? You know why he wanted to be a guitarist? He couldn't get the insurance in Liverpool for the cart. We're here all week.
That was that Donington was incredible. I remember that. I'm a massive Aerosmith fan. I remember Television. It was Wild Hearts, and Ginger was in a bad mood, funnily enough. But I just remember it so well. I was '94, and I was at the front when Biohazard invited everyone on the stage. Well, that caused a massive fuss. I was talking about Mike Gray about that, and I was to remember that because it was on. I think it was in between Skane and before Television. Yeah. I can't remember.
I remember on the barrier, and they pulled the plug, and I was like, no.
I remember Extreme getting booed off because I think at that Donington they were selling. They had some sort of something like Opal Fruits or something. They had some sort of Starbursts. There was some promotion, and they're all getting thrown at Extreme, which I found embarrassing. I loved Extreme, but that gets me to the next question, I suppose. And what's up with your timing? So obviously the Zach Wilde thing got you, and you forgot Mario Kart. What's that? What is? Explain your time in the business. What's happened since in bands?
Well, mine started off when I was looking for a singer. Obviously, I wanted to do this country rock bluesy kind of feel, like heavy stuff, the southern rock kind of feel. Obviously, got into a lot more bands like Alice in Chains, where I was like, I love all this. This is just the way it's got to be with the grungy feel. So I was looking for a singer, couldn't find one which fitted what I wanted to play. And then I just said, I'm going to do it myself. So I created my own band called BDV. Sort of supported bands like Breed 77, who've just come back as well, quality band, and Fozzy as well, the mighty Chris Jericho, Rich Ward. Then I took a little break from it, started writing a few songs, messing around, got in touch with a certain singer who's fronts King Voodoo, Jamie, was in a band with him called Bad Precedent. That seemed to do really well, and we just went our own ways. Then did a little bit with Rain May Fall, Lost Sovereign, and then I'm going back to my old roots, bit of like southern rock,
Yeah.
with a bit of grunge to it, and put King Voodoo together with the lads, and it's, do you know what? I'm addicted. It's one of those where you've got to love what you do, because you don't do it for money, you don't do it for anything. The long days, the long hours traveling and stuff like that, it's crazy. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. Being on stage, meeting people like yourself, Pete, and the guys who, like, and it's priceless.
I've seen you guys play live, King Voodoo, and you can at any minute of that gig, any second, watching you guys play live, you can tell instantly that you're up there for the right reasons. You can just tell. It's just joyous coming off that stage. You're good as well. You're really good, but it's that case of these guys are. He's got and I get the impression with you guys. I could be wrong, but I get the impression right. If there was 70,000, if there was 7, you guys would be on that stage smashing it every single time.
Oh, do you know what? You've got to put it in there. It's like, if you can make someone walk away, humming a tune, singing a tune, I've done my part. And you know what? There's nothing better. It's one of the best feelings in the world, hearing other people sing your song.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think giving somebody that freedom, that happiness, that joy, that escapism, giving them something for an hour, half an hour, an hour and a half, whatever, you give that gift, which is kind of priceless, right? Because you don't know how, like I was saying before, you don't know if you're going to change someone's life and they're going to go into bands, or you're going to change someone's 5 minutes. But it doesn't matter. Even if you change their opinion for a minute, you've done that. The band's done that. That's. How about you, John? Have you been? You've got quite a rich history of bands. I know you started your first band in 1802, but
1802, just in time to get sent to the Russian front with them.
And obviously the Bay City Rollers tribute band that you're still in, I think. But
yeah, the Bay City Rollers, yeah. But I started about, I think, in 1978, and one of my best mates and his big brother, one was a guitarist, one was a drummer, and then another mate had a guitar. So we got together and we created a band called HGV. Now, the fact that 2 of us were into punk and the other 2 were into like AC/DC and co, so we used to split. We used to split the set. So the first set would be mainly co and AC/DC. The second set would be the Dead Boys and doing Sonic Reducer and the Ramones and Sex Pistols and all that. So that's it. The fact that we didn't have a bass player was simply because we didn't know anybody that could play the bass or even owned one. So it was kind of short-lived. And then I kind of left it for a while. I got married, had a kid when I was quite young. And then I came back into it. So early 80s, all the way through the 80s, I didn't stop in bands until I moved to England in January 91. So all the way through the 80s, I was in various bands. So I started off in the typical kind of heavy metal type bands, like Iron Maiden, twin guitars, the rumbling bass. But I ended up, the last 2 bands that I was in was more what we called them back in the day, sort of indie rock, but not the way it's now. So indie in them days was like U2, kind of arena indie, that kind of style, Simple Minds, that kind of stuff. So we were much more melodic and a bit different. We didn't have, we'd one guitarist for a start, and we got a bit into it.
Didn't have the animax and the attitude.
No, I had the attitude. Fucking, I was barred out of most venues in Scotland, certainly in the central belt of Scotland. Whenever they used to get me in and tell me what I could and couldn't do, the first thing I would do is what I was told I couldn't do. I wouldn't have managed me. But we had a great time. We were never ever going to make it. We just were a bunch of guys that loved doing it. People used to come up and go, "Do you play Bon Jovi?" And I used to say no. And they say, "Why not?" And I'd say, "Because he doesn't play our songs." And that was our attitude, Loved it. So that was me until I moved to England. 93, I think I tried it for a band in Halifax, but they wanted to do covers and I just couldn't. They were a great band. I think they were called McKitty. But they did a lot of covers and that just wasn't me. I was never interested in doing other people's songs. Maybe because I knew I couldn't sing them very well, but that might have been something to do with it. That was me until I came back into the music industry as such. July 2018 was when I first started dabbling back, but it changed hugely in between that time.
Well, you started off there in the 80s and you worked your way back, and you've just mentioned until 18. So what is your opinion on the grassroots music scene just before this thing called COVID happened? Because it seems Like obviously everything's kind of odd, but just before that, just before the COVID fashion, is that a word to use? What do you think about the grassroots music scene?
It totally changed from my day, because in my day you used to have to take all your PA and your lights and your sound stuff with you. Then all of a sudden it was like there's 3 bands playing, they're all using the same kit, more or less, same drums. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I was shocked. It was actually through, I found a guy that was a drummer in a couple of bands with me in Scotland, and he'd moved to Manchester and he was playing in a band called Mouth in the South at the time. So I kind of like found him on Facebook, started chatting to him, went to one of the gigs, and I can't remember who they were playing with, but I was like quite surprised at the quality of the music. And I started looking into it. So they were pointing me, peers in Mouth of the South would point me towards certain bands. So I was listening to Inglorious and Riders Creed and people like that, the Rocket Dolls. I started seeing them in Dead Man's Whiskey and all these bands, and I was like blown away. And in my opinion, and I've said this before, I'm old enough, as I've already given away, to have been through all the rock scenes, lived through them all, apart from rock and roll, obviously. But
Keith Richards calls you dad.
I wish he did. But the thing with that is that I actually think that the bands that are around nowadays, the actual music and the quality is better now than it's ever been, ever. And I mean a lot more of it. The problem,
I think I agree with you. I think if you watch bands in this, let's just say the station or whatever venue you get, and maybe there's 40, 50 people there, just say, you're watching the bands, and I think if you didn't know the music scene at all, people would watch it and go, oh my God, they should be in Wembley, they should be in this. And I think people think it's going to be a bit crap. But actually, you look at bands, we talk about Donington that year, watching Poison. There's bands now that do what Poison do, but do it 100 times better. But they'll never get the 70,000 people. Poison wouldn't do it now. They would get, I don't know how many we get, what, a couple hundred? I don't know.
The problem you've got is that we've got the best bands we've ever had, the biggest amount of bands we've ever had, but we don't have a scene that supports it pre-COVID. I was sick and tired, and we've all been there. You put on grassroots gigs and little festivals and all that, and 3 men and a dog turn up, and it's only the dog that likes the band, even though the bands are brilliant. So I think, what we're seeing during lockdown is everybody bemoaning the fact that they can't go to gigs anymore. Well, I'm sorry, but 90% of these people are saying that never went to fucking gigs in the first place. That's the reason why. Venues were closing because they weren't being supported. But then again, so were pubs, because people weren't going to pubs. So I think the scene, there's too many, huge amount of bands, can't say too many, but there's not enough people being shown and being exposed to the beauty of rock music and metal. It's all TikTok land. It's all Capital Radio. And to me, that's the problem. It's not been exposed. We'll probably come on to this later. But the bands, the music, the musicianship, the songwriting, the quality is the best it's ever been. But post-COVID, that's what we need to stop. We need to give them a killing ground. We need to create a ground where they can go out and we can turn things around. So hopefully that answers.
Do you agree with that? The post-COVID thing you just said. So you've kind of got your strategy for, well, not your strategy, but a strategy that should be thinking for post-COVID. Would you agree, Ian? Do you agree?
When it was before all this craziness happened, and I call it craziness because, like I say, it's a year of a lot of people's lives that's caused a lot of mental heartache. And I think we're going to have a lot of fallout when it's all fixed, to try and support a lot of people through mental health issues. Pre-COVID, I thought I do agree with John. I think we've had some amazing bands I've supported. I'm lucky to, and I say lucky because I'm in a position where I've busted my ass, and I'll be honest, I've broke me bones and everything trying to get to where I need to get to support these bands. And like you say, John, your Riders Creed, your Collaterals, your Pistons, and Stone Broken. I've supported them when they first started, and you just go through them and you just go, oh my God, why aren't we hearing these on the radio? And I hate to say this, but I'm going to. I think, unfortunately, we've been brainwashed with commercial crap. You're like, so you The Voice on a Saturday night. Simon Cowell doing his other things as well. Like, it gets to the point where it's, why don't we just like try and do something similar, like, you know, and get a band on who's got musicianship instead of just trying to single out a group of singers to make you money at Christmas. It's, don't get me wrong, Simon Cowell, he knows what he's doing. He's cornered the market. He's a clever fella. He wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't. Unfortunately, the repercussions is the rock industry and the rock side of it, I feel, has taken a bit of a beating. However, it's made a lot of the bands a lot stronger, the community a lot stronger. There's a lot of people who go through all these gigs, and you know what? I'd speak to them every day of the week. No questions, no qualms, because they're your hardcore fans who travel up and down the country.
I agree with you. I think that's the thing, is that I think we kind of, you put in the work, you put in the effort. I think any performance I've been there before, I still am. You've done it, and you've performed to Three Men Dog, and then you're doing a gig and there's a couple of hundred, and you've kind of earned your stripes. It shouldn't be that. It doesn't necessarily should be that way. I suppose the problem with these things like The Voice and all these Saturday night shows is, it shows you it's an overnight success, which it probably isn't for these people. They're still working hard, and also they're forgotten about in a year's time. And actually, that's damaging for their mental health. I think if you get hyped up at the stardom and then you get dropped, I couldn't deal with that. Luckily, I'm crap, and I'm always going to be kind of, you know. But you look at some bands like Blaze Bayley, who 70,000 people, and then 4 years later he's performing to 200. It must be hard, I think.
Oh, 100%, and 100%. But it's one of those where, what's more, if I was lucky and in those shoes of playing in front of 70,000 people, that's amazing. But I tell you what, if I did get to that level, I'd still enjoy doing the smaller gigs in front of, like, you know, about like 200 people, because at the end of the show, you get to actually meet these people, you talk to these people. There's a lot more interaction. Hopefully there's going to be interaction after COVID. I think, unfortunately, that could cause another few issues, but let's see what happens. But I'd like to say, I do love the intimate shows. I prefer some of them sometimes, because you get to meet the real people. And I'll tell you what, if you get to those people, and I'm sure Blaze will most probably tell you this as well, you'll start seeing the regular people. You'll start seeing your fans, and you get
the real fans, the actual, your people who you make a difference to.
Exactly, and I think that's it. If you can make a difference to someone's life, where they can actually feel like they've had their 5 minutes of fame, or even something like that, where they've interacted with what they call a rock star, and it sort of gives them the buzz, the mental health boost, which everyone needs.
Makes sense.
I'll do that every day of the week, mate.
Absolutely. So, John, that kind of leads to the next question, John. How can we promote this kind of music then to the mainstream? How can we make it mainstream?
I think one of the things that, I know we've had the conversation ourselves, and certainly I have with Ian, but I know you and I have, Pete, which is, you hear such and such a band is making it. And I hate doing that, but I'm doing it. And such a band is making it. Making what? Most of them could make more money if they went and worked at McDonald's. Let's not be kidded, right? So the first thing we have to understand is that if we think we're going to come back after lockdown's finally over and just do the same old, that is not good enough, right? Our bands, our scene, our music deserves better. And let me just say, the first thing that needs to happen is, some of these assholes that are in our industry, and it's not been talked about yet in this, who live off the dream of bands because they sell them a dream and they take their money and they don't do anything to support it. They're doing it purely to make money themselves. They need to realise that they're actually throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. And I think it needs to be a concerted effort for the people. And we know who they are. And over the last couple of years of me doing this, I'm finding out more and more of them that will do it for the right reasons. And we will overcome. And we will do this because it matters to me that if King Voodoo are doing a gig, they're playing in front of the right people, right amount of people, and the people that are there are going to enjoy them, because I know they can deliver. And that's against any band. But I think we need to do that. But I think the biggest thing that we need to do is we need to realise it's not going to be the same anyway for everybody. You know, like these live things, these online shows, that's going to carry on. We interviewed Ricky Warren. He said he's going to carry on with that over and above, because there is a market there. There are people that's never going to get to your gigs, and you can monetize that. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the real thing that we need to do is, when I grew up, and we talked about it earlier, Top of the Pops made me want to be in a band. The old Great Whistle Test did. In the 80s, it was the Tube, and seeing all that stuff. And seeing what it was like to be in a band, and seeing that on stage, and you were like, I want that. Where do kids nowadays see rock and metal? Unless their grandparents or their parents have showed them it. They don't, and that's the issue. They don't hear it. And Spotify and people like that with a playlist, and a lot of these Capital Radio, they've made music purely and simply a background noise. And you know how I can prove that? Look at all the top of the charts, and I bet there's about one line that's repeated 33 times as the verse and the chorus. So that's how much attention people pay to it. Drake.
It's tricky though, isn't it? Because I know I'm quite unusual. I like listening to an album from start to finish, for example. To me, as a I don't know if it's because I'm a creative person or just because it's where I've been brought up, but to me, an album's made and you listen to it start to finish. But these days, albums aren't designed for that. People listen to a song or Spotify, and I suppose it's hard, isn't it? Because we've got everything at our fingertips as we want it constantly. And I would hate to be young now, because you've got that instant gratification. You know, it was like you send a message, and I get people in bands sending me messages. I get everybody, you'll send me a message going, you've read my message, where's my reply? I'm like, dude, I only read it 10 minutes ago. You know, that kind of instant. But that's a world now, and I suppose as in our circles, it's hard, isn't it? Because we've got to get that. We're not saying we can't change that, but we can teach them another way. We can say, just listen, put your time and effort in, listen to this album, and then come and see us live, and we'll give you far more rewards in life. We're gonna give you something that's better than that instant graphic. You're gonna be a lifelong fan of King Voodoo, for example. That's better than just hearing one great song on GTA or something. You know, it's a hard one.
It's a tough one. It really is, because as you say, how do you do it? If that is the golden question, because realistically, if we all knew that, we'd all be millionaires by now. We'd be the next Simon Cowell, like, you know.
But with less plastic surgery.
Oh no, I don't know. I think I'd go for the plastic surgery. I need it, for fuck's sake. Look at me.
Jonah, I'm not arguing with you, man.
I know. I didn't say you.
No, you know what? I would much rather be talking to you than Simon Cowell. But that gets me to the next point, I suppose. I don't know if it does. The Scouser and the Scot. Obviously, we know where the names came from. I think Colombo. But what started this off? What was the initial idea?
Right. Basically, during the first lockdown of COVID, I got to the point where I was thinking, I want to do something. I want to try and get involved with something. I want to throw something together and come up with a few ideas. So I was talking, obviously, to the gaffer, the boss, the man himself, like, and I said, I pitched an idea to him about something, and we threw a few ideas down. It just basically snowballed from that. It was one thing after another. Obviously, the name, it needs a little bit of work, I think, maybe. I don't know. I saw the initial plans, and I think the Scouser and the Bay City Roller fan was too long. It just didn't roll. It just. This is going to stick. I might change it. Change the intro to the Scouser and the Bay City Roller.
What was the name of the Bay City? What was the name of the Bay City Rollers? Was it Tam White? Bay City Rollers manager that was later found out to be a pedo. Whatever you do, don't call me after him.
Oh, that's just the Scouser and the new Scot. So,
sure he was.
So what do you think? John, what do you think? We're getting called the Gaffer one. I can see you smiling on that one. But what did you think it was a good idea? Did you think, you wanted something here, Ian?
The conversation that we had was based around what I alluded to slightly before, which is great bands, young bands, new bands, walking into these killing fields where the wolves are waiting, saying, if you give us £7,000, we'll promote your EP. And
you still get that, right? I mean, I want to point out what you said before. As someone who I think, I could be wrong, but I kind of love my rock music, and I kind of promote it. And yes, I do make some earnings from it. That's great, but I don't think I'm cheeky. I don't think I rip people off. I genuinely don't. But then, you know, people who do what I do. Somebody phoned me up about 4 weeks ago, emailed me actually, and said, "Can you play a song on the radio?" And I said, "I'll listen to it, and if I like it, if it suits my soul, of course." And they said, "But you charge for that." I'm like, "Why on earth would you charge for promoting you, right?" Because to me, if I'm promoting music, and this is, I think this goes for most people in the industry, if I'm promoting music, then it benefits everyone, it benefits the world, it benefits everyone. So why would I charge for that? And I think to get that point, there is people out there who are making money off things that we haven't got a lot, bands haven't got a lot of money. And I think all they want to do is get more people to listen to them. That's not a crime. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, you know.
And that was a conversation we had, which was, how do we get people to talk about their experiences and share their knowledge? So we came up with the idea of doing that on this show. So the idea has always been that we bring people on to talk about their experiences. And, you know, the questions are always based around them sharing their knowledge. So if we get bands, and I'll just put this out there, if we get bands coming to us and contacting us and saying, "We've got a new album coming out, can you interview us?" The answer is no, because that's not what this is about. This is about, if the band wants to come on, we'll give you an example. We recently interviewed Nathan James. We didn't talk about the fact that a new album coming out. We talked about how he did vocal lessons, how he did his warm-ups, etc., etc. We talked to anybody, you know, Ricky Warwick, about what he does, etc., etc. And that, to me, was the whole idea. But it was that we were hoping people would watch it and go, "Because we've learned shit tons out here, you know." And if we've learned, then people with less experience than us have learned as well. And that's what it was all about, Pete. That was why I said to you, I think this is a great idea, and we should go with it.
That makes sense. Yeah, because yeah, so Ian, yeah.
No, I was just going to add to that, like, you know what I mean? I think one of the most important things that I've learned while I've been doing this, John, and you can mostly vouch for me on this one, how approachable these guys are. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we've been busy in the background, we've sent out loads of emails and had no responses back from certain people. So if you're watching them, answer your emails, will you? Yeah. The other ones, but the people who have actually responded, like in one of the main ones, which blew me away, was the festival organisers, your Adam Gregory's, Rocking the Bowl, like Raz White, Steen Shani, like, you know what I mean? I tell you what, they are the most down-to-earth, lovely people who will give you any time and just help each other. Like, you know what I mean? We've got more coming out over the next couple of weeks where we've interviewed other festivals. All the same, these guys want to promote good music. These guys want to get these grassroots bands out there. And I'll tell you now, I can't thank them enough for the time that they've given. Because,
and I want to clarify this, and you just saying this, but I just want to put to the listeners, the viewers here. If you run a festival called the Wild, Rocking the Bowl, or one of these amazing, amazing festivals, and they are amazing festivals, please don't get mistaken from these promoters. The guys who run these festivals think they're doing it for the money, because they're not either. And that's true, isn't it? They're doing it because, and I know them personally, you know them personally, they're doing that to get music out there to support bands. We know that for sure.
I tell you, it's like I could have sat and talked to Adam Gregory all day, Steen Shani, Raz. It's like, you know what I mean?
You can't have another Scottish person on, though. That would be bad.
With Dave Ritchie recently, a Wildfire as well. So.
Yeah. They just end up calling this the Scottish Takeover Show and the Bay City Roller. So I
bet they're all Bay City Rollers fans as well.
But yeah, I'd like to say, if anyone who's like, you know, people who are watching this, go and check those out, because, like I say, these people want to help. These people will help. And these people will progress your future in the music industry, and they'll point you in the right direction. And it's people like yourself, Pete, who's like, you know, giving us your time of day to come and, like, you know, help support these bands. And we can't. I'm
getting paid for this, right? John's promised me 60 quid a minute. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
He said he'd buy me a pint the next time he sees me. I don't know what I believe more.
I know what my money would be on. I mean, it's true what Ian says, though. that every single person had much better things to be doing. We don't get huge numbers watching it, but it doesn't matter. And we tell them that, you know, the first, like you were the first person we interviewed, Pete. At that point in time, you'd no idea.
No wonder you don't get big numbers.
You know, but the thing with it is that every single one of these interviews, there's so much information in there that will help new young or even slightly ones that have been going for a wee while, that think they know and understand what's going on. They don't necessarily. And that's what this is all about. It's sharing that. And I just hope that more people will go back now and sort of watch it and watch back the old ones. And every Friday now I do a flashback Friday one, because honestly, God, we finish these and we usually have a 5 minutes after the debrief, and I'm sitting there going to Ian, you know, when they said such and such, that was amazing, wasn't it? I never thought about it that way. And Ian's like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and do that now. Awesome.
That kind of answers the next question. I suppose that it leads to what. So what then? What's next? You've been doing this for 6 months. What is the short term? What's the medium term? What's the long term like goal for the Scouser and the Scot? What's next?
I think, from my perspective, you know, we don't really look that far ahead because we never know. Do you know what? If it gets to the stage where we don't think there's a value to it anymore and there's a better way of doing it, that's what we do. But right now, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. The most difficult thing now is the process that we go through, which is me and Ian sitting going, who would we like to talk to? More importantly, why would we like to talk to them?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. I approached Ricky Warwick because Ricky Warwick had done something. He'd just out of the blue, he'd just put a thing on about the Waterloo up in Blackpool, and he just did a video and it was amazing. And I said to Ian, I'm going to contact him. I says, because that's amazing. Straight to him, an hour later, back. Yeah, mate, that'd be great. He'd no idea if anybody would ever watch it, etc. But he did it. And, you know, we're sat there while these Hispanic gardeners were strimming outside the window. And he kept saying, sorry about that background noise. But it was amazing. And that's what we love, is that these people, and more often than not, we're talking to people we've never spoken to before. I certainly have never spoken to before. But they will invest so much of that time because they buy into the concept. And if the concept ever tires, we would either change it or do something different. But quite honestly, I'd like to be able to do this as part of a TV show so that more people get exposure to it. You know, maybe it's a part of something bigger that we can do in the future. Certainly where I'm concerned, there's never going to be a limit to where I think we can go with anything. It may just change how we do it, but as it stands, it's just getting the people. And I'd like to put this message out there. If you're in the music industry and you think you've got something to share, any of the wider part, you know, we've had video guys, we've had recording guys, producers, etc., road crew, whatever. If you want to come on, you've got a story to tell and you can share that and you think there's value in it, please contact us.
Yeah, do it. Ian, you got anything to add to that? It's quite, I think.
Short term, I'd love, as I say, just to keep on doing it, because obviously we're hopefully bringing in valuable information for these bands who are up and coming. Like, you know what I mean? I'm learning every week. I learn something new. And that's just by talking to people, and it most probably helps us all keep a little bit sane. Medium term, do you know what? I'd love to do a festival, and if I can say it, I most probably can, but we have been invited to a few festivals to do basically the Scouser and the Scot there, and you know what? I'm made up about that because we've been given the green light to interview some very well-known bands, and if that's the case, if we can get that information over to you guys, Christ, it's valuable. It's priceless information, like I say. As John said, I'll be just made up to carry on doing what I'm doing. I love doing it. I'm just getting a kick out of it. Meeting these people, finding out that they are genuinely nice people who will help anyone out just by asking simple questions.
And I think you said it as well, being around, and I think it's easy if you spend your life or your days at work and you come home, you watch TV or whatever, that's great. But I think, and this is probably why I'm doing it, because if you're surrounded by creative people like yourselves, then that just buzzed off your creativity as well. It makes you feel kind of, because we're in a rough place at the minute, we know that, but actually having these conversations or watching this or getting inspired or looking at all these other people, I know talking to Ricky for half an hour makes me want to go, oh my God, I just want to do something, you know, and if I had a guitar at hand, I'd be picking it up. So you did a great job. You really are. What in the future? What does it look like? So let's just say in the future now you've got Download Festival, King Voodoo headlining, obviously, but in between doing all that stuff, and obviously John's Bay City Rollers fan club is doing very well. In the future, what would success look like to you from the Scouser and the Scot?
For myself personally, I'd love to be able to do something special with King Voodoo, which, my personal opinion, am I allowed to say this yet, John? I'm going to ask you this. Can I tell them about something which may be taking place?
Yeah,
regarding the...
In case in case anybody's watching this and doesn't understand, as part of my business, I'm King Voodoo's manager. That's why he was referred to as the boss. Not in the Scouser and the Scot were equals, but when it comes to the band, I'm way higher than him.
And in case anybody's watching it and it suddenly cuts off to an advert, you know it wasn't okay to say.
But I produce it.
He edits it.
For King Voodoo side, we are planning on releasing a charity single later in the year, which is going to be quite important to a number of people. But we are also releasing our first track.
2nd of April, mate. 2nd of April.
Next one. 2nd of April, we'll be releasing our first track off the new release, which
nice.
I'm not going to tell you any more than that. With regards to the Scouser and the Scot, what would success look like? We continue doing this, we move it forward, we get bigger, we get better, we get more people on, we bring up and coming bands forward where they need to be, and do you know what? Well, to be a better place, and we support everyone else and we help each other. There you go, that's success.
Nice answer. No pressure on you, John, now with that answer.
Success to me, as far as Scouser and the Scot, would be quite simple. If somebody comes up to me or messages us or emails or whatever and says, because of something that one of your guests shared on one of your shows stopped us from making a big mistake or helped us to get to where we are, then that's success.
I like it.
Pure and simple.
Well,
and I mean that for the heart. It's not bullshit.
No,
that's exactly.
I know you. I know, John. I know you do. I know that's partly the whole thing. Is you do it for the you all do it for the right. You do it for the right intentions. It is a absolutely. No, that's been great. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you very much for John and Ian for joining us tonight on my show, The Scouser and the Scot. And thank you for giving up so much of your time. I know you guys are busy. And guys, listen. Please, I know it sounds silly and it sounds small, but don't remember, please, to us, to these guys, it's really big. Get on that subscribe and press that cowbell. For me, Pete Kamali, the Scouser and Scot, tune in next time. Take care.
He's the man.
He's the man. Cheers, Pete.